Pizza was not invented in Italy, it was the USA actually, with the American flag. Because that's the only way to know that a post is 100% American. Fact checked by true patriots. Hey everyone, Noble Xenon here, and welcome back to some more Stuff Americans Say. Let's get started. So, the ignorance of Americans continues. Military time? We actually normally use it here in Europe. Yeah, it's just 24-hour time. And here in America, we actually win wars. I don't know why certain Americans are just so obsessed with war. Like, we just need to relax and realize peace is nice. The dumbest thought just popped into my head and now it's bugging me. Why is autumn the only season with a nickname? We call it fall because the leaves fall down, but there's no equivalent for any of the other seasons. Why not? Crying laughing emoji. You know what? That's not even a stupid question. That's actually a pretty fair question. Like, genuinely, why is that? We go to TikTok for this next American who says they make portable AC units and make custom window AC units for small windows. My aunt has one. I kinda understand that y'all aren't used to heat, put in quotes, I guess because they think European heat isn't real heat, at least not compared to that American heat. But it doesn't help that Europeans drink much less water than Americans, which also doesn't help y'all with the heat. Now might be a good time to stop. Most English people drink 2 to 3 liters a day, but there's been articles on how British people drink way less water than you should. Just look it up. I can guarantee those articles are lies. An organic mechanic says water possibly, but you're not taking tea into consideration. Less than 20 cups a day really isn't trying. Yes, the British way. Americans will say it doesn't count. So a YouTube comment section here says, am I supposed to bag these myself? Almost everywhere in Europe? Yes, move your hands, people are waiting. American replies, why would I do that when someone else is supposed to do it? Not in America, that's the cashier's job, crying laughing emoji. Baggers literally get paid for that reason, so thankful I don't live in Europe. I mean, having people who bag your groceries can be useful, especially for people who may have a hard time bagging their own groceries because of a disability or something. But it doesn't mean you should act all superior just because you have baggers. This next one's titled, Spanish is not a country. He's Mexican. There's a big audience for steams, probably meaning streams, in local languages. Actually, he's Spanish. You think all Spanish speakers are Mexican, you ignorance. I bet you can't point Spain in a map. And no, it's not in South America. Spanish is not a country. Stop stealing Mexican heritage. What? Spain literally is a country. The absolute state of the American job market in 2025. This is a job posting for a conversational AI assistant prompt engineer, unpaid. The fact that there's a whole job dedicated to just making AI prompts is insane enough already, but it gets even worse. The employee is required to pay $500 per week to Afterfleet to maintain access to job data and responsibilities. Yes, you have to pay to work there, and failure to make timely payments will result in termination of the position, so you better pay up or you won't get to work here anymore. That is assuming anyone applies to this absolutely ridiculous job. And for this next one, you should add that this is only valid for the USA. One can infer that it's about the USA nearly immediately when reading the post. Yeah, who would have thought that this post, posted on an American website with majority American people, would apply to only people from America? Yeah, except majority American doesn't mean only American. It's still a good idea to specify because there's people from all over the world. This next one's titled, London built towers out of some New York envy. What? This post refers to the modern London skyline. I'm glad you find it attractive. I don't. It doesn't have any of the order that New York has. Maybe because of the grid and because it's a lot older, the skyline, that is. London did this just out of some sort of penis envy. What? to be like everybody else with a downtown full of tall buildings, and it was pretty stupid. So much has been lost of the old London because of it, more of a wind tunnel, more dreary and reflective, and from a distance I don't find it particularly attractive. There is a room for office towers for sure, although actually at the moment we're not even sure about that as we see what's happening to the market in the US with them. Many of them are empty now. Now this person might be claiming to not be American, considering they refer to the US as them. For this next one, Canada booed our anthem, but we kicked their ass. As opposed to the hordes of British, French, Romanian, Greek, German, and all the other wealthy travelers from those countries all crowding around the Americans making fun of us, remember, Canada booed our anthem, we kicked their ass. How's their economic boom going? I think the USA will make out alright without them. Bye-bye. Yeah, we're a funny kind, aren't we? Fact is, we're ahead of you by leaps and bounds. You aren't even in the same hemisphere, literally and figuratively. Canada quite literally is in the same hemisphere. What are you talking about? Give yourself a break. Stop expecting to wake up and be free and capable of anything you want, cause you are subjugated, or are the subjugate, or good luck. Having fun where you are? Anyways, the comment was on a Top Gear short in YouTube where the main trio observes American tourists instead of the hippos that the tourists are watching. I'm guessing you didn't mean the education system when you said America was ahead by leaps and bounds. All of this America #1 really is getting tiring, isn't it? If you're a real American patriot, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that Liberty Bell. This next one was on a post on how to change the unit from kilometers per hour to miles per hour on the new Farm Simulator, a European-made game, so it would make sense that the default there is kilometers per hour. KPH is just code to help you feel like you're going faster than you actually are when you look at your speedometer and see a 3-digit number. Or it's just a different form of measurement. Lol, I guess people with the awareness of a child need a crutch to make them feel fast when they hit 100 miles an hour. 100 kilometers per hour is literally 60 miles an hour, so is that supposed to be some kind of comeback? Just embrace only good and proper measurement of speed. He is, that's why he's trying to switch to miles per hour. He already has the superior measurement available, just needs to embrace the KPH. More like they are bored of inferior systems in racing. American replies, yeah, because watching the F1 cars do parade laps is so exciting. Another thing giants are too lazy to implement, there was a mod in Farm Simulator 22 that had the digital read correctly, but I don't think anyone has done it yet for 25. I think it's less laziness and more just typical Euro snobbery about the metric system. They've steadfastly refused to give the largest market of the player base the measurement system they use for the entire history of the franchise. Just learn the metric system. If you have a large American player base, is it a good idea to implement Imperial as an option? Yeah, it is. But are you entitled to such an option? No, you are not. I called to follow up on a job interview that I thought I aced, was told I was rejected based off my accent. Which, not gonna lie, that is messed up. And possibly even illegal. But I'm no lawyer. But then they say 2 things. 1, I have no accent, and 2, I have no accent. Here's the thing though, 3, you do have an accent. Just because your particular accent is the default for you doesn't mean that you straight up don't have one. You do have one, and so does everyone else. This next individual on Facebook says soccer isn't a sport, it's how you torture prison inmates or keep the third world occupied. What? Like this has to be some kind of a troll, right? Like I struggle to imagine someone actually thinking like this. And the reply, the third world is all the world outside America with 4 crying laughing emojis. It's like the most played sport on the planet. So the person in the original TikTok asks why most Americans don't have their passport. And one fellow American replies, I have a passport, but there's no need to leave the US. As someone who's been out of the country, it kinda sucks out there in most places. The food is bad, most smell bad, and people are rude. America is better anyway. The sense of superiority in this one. If people are consistently being rude to you, then maybe you gotta take a look at yourself. It's possible that you're the rude one here. The reply, which countries have you visited? It's social media, so you can easily lie. That is true. A lot of trolls and a lot of liars out there. The reply, well, Thailand, Singapore, Australia, overall most of the South Pacific, Turkey, Italy, Sicily, France, Spain, and Germany, and more, but I'm not going through the whole list, dude. I did have plans to explore South America, but it's all looks sketchy at best, so I will be satisfied with the few countries in Central and South America I have gone. You claim to be so well traveled, yet you somehow come to that conclusion, that somehow America is far superior to all of these places you've listed. Then again, I gotta keep in mind what that other commenter said. You can easily lie on social media. This next one's on a YouTube short about the differences between Canada and Florida, comparing a whole country to a single US state. Interesting. Absolutely. This is why the USA is the best country in the world. Freedom and strength. I'm Canadian and my son was born in the USA where my wife was working as a surgeon. Thank effing God he is an American. Too bad USA does not give us free healthcare. But who needs free healthcare when you already have the entire concept of freedom? Just the concept, though. Just ignore all the constant surveillance. So this next one thought it would be a good idea to post about their entire Viking lineage going back generations under an urban exploring video on Facebook. Well, that video did feature a cryptic poem written by modern people using Norse runes, so maybe it was the perfect opportunity for this comment. That is Proto-Germanic Old Norse runes. My lineage dates back to the first Norse/Viking settlers in the United States/Northeast. They don't translate into anything structural as far as sentences, so it's just letters etched over and over that spell nothing. Almost as if practicing or just making it look eerie. By the way, this so-called Viking then proceeded to use screenshots of ChatGPT to back up his lineage. What? Apparently it spat out 95% pseudo-archaeological junk. Only 95%? Why does Europe and other countries use a comma instead of a period in their numbers? Europe is asking why do Americans use period instead of comma in their numbers? I mean, it's just a matter of different countries having different ways of writing their numbers. But of course, the American replies, lol, the comma looks dumb where y'all use it. Even on the percentage change 0,14%, lol, WTF. I don't know the official reason, but I'll look into it and get back to you. Y'all looks pretty dumb, says someone else. The period looks dumb where you use it to us, 0.14%, lol, WTF. Alright, can you just please stop calling each other dumb? Both ways are equally valid, alright? Like, it just depends on what country you're in. This next one presents us with a fun fact, and I say that with quotes about as heavy as a metric ton. Did you know that if you took a map of Europe and overlaid the Great Lakes on it, that the Great Lakes would cover almost a third of Europe? I think this person may have confused 3% with 1/3. Because Vivid Raccoon says continental Europe has a surface area of about 10 million square kilometers. That's about 3.9 million square miles for the bald eagles in the audience. The Great Lakes have a combined surface area of about 0.25 million square kilometers. That will be about 95,000 miles for my fellow burger enjoyers, so they would take up about 2.5% of the surface area of continental Europe. Did you know that if you overlay Texas on top of the United States, Texas has more surface than the entire United States, including Texas? That's about the size of Texas for any cowboys in the crowd. This next one gives a cookbook on Amazon 1 star because it's not dairy-free. Literally just received this today. At what point do folks grasp the concept that egg is dairy? When you advertise dairy-free, that means there's no dairy in your recipes. Some of us are non-dairy for medical conditions and do not have a choice. Did you think we wouldn't notice? Not any different than some of the names of these recipes that aren't exactly what the recipe is. We get excited when we see something for those of us who have to find the alternatives. At least able enough to look at a recipe and adapt or reconstruct it. Not everyone can do that. Knowing this is how the entire book will go is why I only will provide a star review. I think he meant a 1-star review there. Just know this book will give you somewhat of a baseline. What on earth made this person come to the conclusion that eggs are somehow dairy? Like, did they see the eggs next to the milk and then just assumed that eggs are somehow dairy just because they're in the dairy section of the supermarket? And a couple of comments, since when are eggs dairy? Do cows lay eggs from their mammary glands now? Apparently so, if this Amazon reviewer is to be believed. Seems the confusion possibly started the moment they started refrigerating eggs. The easiest place for them to do this was in the dairy section, and the whole breed of assumed ignorance was born. American supermarkets might have made things a little confusing in that regard, so I can kind of see why someone would be confused at first glance, or even for a while. But at the same time, you never thought about what dairy meant for your entire life? Especially when you say you have a medical condition? Like, I would be extra careful in that case. So a Reddit commenter says, it was done for a good reason. The leader of the US was literally threatening the sovereignty of our country. You want us to just accept it? US fans are booing the Canadian anthem as retaliation for us booing them because you can't say mean things about the US. And the American replies, we allow you to come on our website and talk shit about us every single day. You guys want to boycott the US? Boycott our websites too. Allow you as if Americans are somehow entitled to exclusive use of Reddit? I'm pretty sure Reddit wants people from all around the world to sign up because it means more potential customers. Like, gatekeeping to just Americans would make no sense whatsoever from a business standpoint or pretty much any standpoint. For this next one, we have some people talking about the changes in characters' names in Street Fighter 2 from Japan to America. An American says, the American versions of the names are better. Why would we care one single bit about the Japanese version names? Because the game is made in Japan, bruh, so it would literally be the original names in that case. You ever hear of evolution, or are you still using a payphone and VHS tapes because they were original? What does evolution have to do with this? A different name is not exactly an evolution from the original. They're not any better or any worse. They're just different. Now we have some Redditors talking about pizza. For real pizza, that's a lot. For American pizza flavored pies, it's more normal. American replies, America's the reason pizza is popular. We made it better. If anything, real pizza, it is American pizza. Have you seen how sad traditional Italian pizza looks? Undercooked minimalist flavor on shitty textured dough. At that point, you're just disrespecting the original pizza. You personally may not like Italian pizza, but a lot of people do. So I'm surprised this person hasn't gotten a lot of responses. And someone else says, "Durr, America bad." And now we go to r/jobs for this next one. Well, you're from India, we can't really help you with that. You personally can't help them with that, but I'm sure someone from India on r/jobs can. And the response, this is r/jobs. Americans are not the center of the universe. I'm from the US, but it really irks me that other people from this country act like we're the only country on the planet. It's embarrassing. It would be different if this was posted in an American-specific subreddit. If you can't help her because you're in another country, crazy thing, but you actually don't need to write anything at all. Like, just ignore them. And I don't care if a majority of the people in this subreddit are US-based. Maybe this is why. But the reply, this is an American website, buddy. We are the center of this American-created universe. She should be posting this in an Indian-specific subreddit, not the general r/job subreddit, which is for basically any country. You see how much sense that makes? This next one posts on r/AskAGerman, should I be proud of my German heritage or stay how I am? My dad's side is almost fully German with some English here and there. I took a DNA test and it turns out I'm over 40% German. Should I care though? I was born in America and I saw a post from a bit ago asking the same question being chastised. I'm guessing the people on that subreddit are tired of Americans constantly asking very similar questions. The OP says, what is that even supposed to mean? Is he gonna buy himself leather pants and start speaking English with a German accent to honor his heritage? Oh god, the absolute cringe that would come from that. And a couple more comments. He's probably just gonna eat more German foods like hamburgers and hot dogs. Maybe he'll eat more burgers and call himself the Burgermeister. The Burgermeister. Who for this next one, having your phone on military time is wild. Military time, skull emoji, or as the rest of the world calls it, time. There's no AM and PM. Y'all gonna flip when you find out about inches and yards, skull emoji. You know, for some reason I almost read that as incels. That's how you know I'm reading way too much nice guys. Though I'm pretty sure military time refers to a very specific format of time like 0500 or 2200, and not just just a general term for 24-hour time. So in that case, no, the Europeans are not using military time. They're just using 24-hour time in general. We go to Facebook for this next one, 70 kilometers per hour, but use miles per hour. This is America. You do realize the internet exists outside of the USA, right? Of course, but I want things done my way, lol. Well, buddy, you're not the center of the universe. Everyone's doing things their own way. So you better deal with it, or I don't know, maybe leave the internet. So someone says that concealer is $38, and the reply, she doesn't live in America, sobbing emoji. It's in Singapore dollars. Then why is she using the US dollar sign? If you live under a rock, Singapore dollars also use that same dollar sign, and so do quite a few other countries and their currencies as well. No, I live in the US, why the hell would I know the Singapore dollar sign? I mean, it would be nice for people to specify their currency when they're talking about what something costs in an international audience. But if you don't know the currency sign for a particular currency, like, just look it up. American-born, Irish and Scottish roots. I'm learning from you for the first time ever at 31 years old. I feel the connection deeply. Thank you for keeping the tradition alive and putting it out for others to find and enjoy on a recording of The Parting Glass, an Irish mourning song. I mean, at the very least, it sounds like they're appreciative. There are way worse comments out there than this. And Run Quick says these types of comments the OP references seem to make up the majority of comments on YouTube. I mean, I wouldn't say the majority, but there are a lot of comments like this out there. It doesn't help that those comments also tend to get a lot of likes. Americans are compelled to say that they're American, their age, and sometimes their state if relevant. As a 65-year-old grandfather from Utah whose ancestors came to this country from insert European country here, I thank you for keeping this cultural tradition alive for me. The connection in question is a video tour of a local modern supermarket. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a little silly to make such a comment in those particular contexts, but in this case it was about a traditional song, which is more culturally relevant. So this person appears to be testing the pH of different kinds of water, hopefully not one from a pyramid scheme water machine. As you can see here, New Jersey tap water, Poland spring water from the US, and smart water from Europe. US born here, I'm recently returning from a trip to Europe. Every time I go to Europe, I struggle with drinking water. Ireland, Lithuania, Italy, Germany, Romania, drinking water is difficult. I've tried fancy brands of bottled water, trusted US brands that end up being bottled in Euro countries, and no luck. I was fortunate to have access to well water recently, and still, something felt unfamiliar, even uncomfortable about it. There's a sensation of the water being dry, like it doesn't quite quench my thirst. So this trip I set the intention to bring back European water and compare it. What is seen here are 2 US waters and 1 Euro water. I admit this isn't the best analysis and I plan to do better next time, but for now what this run shows is Euro smart water having a lower pH than New Jersey tap or Poland spring bottled, which may attribute to the dry sensation. Any insight you find dull folks may have would be appreciated. All sorts of Googling seems to say that less minerals can impact flavor and experience. I'll eventually be spending significantly more time in Europe. My husband's family is there, and this feels like a puzzle I need to solve to feel more comfortable. Are there minerals I can add? Is there a special filtration system I can buy? No multi-level marketing Huns, please. As it is, I tend to add a splash of juice to any glass of water I drink, and that helps me stay hydrated. In the US, I casually consume 100+ ounces per day. Good lord. And in Europe, I struggle to drink 40 ounces, and that isn't good. For those of you not used to America's rather unusual units, that is pretty much 3 liters of water per day. But when this American goes to Europe, that goes down to a little over a liter. So, quite a drastic difference there. But just because you're not personally used to the water in a different country doesn't mean that your country's water is somehow better, especially when you're comparing relatively clean sources of water. So someone in the YouTube comments said this felt like an incredibly American-centric video of 100 so-called historic figures as someone who is not American. It wouldn't be a problem if it was a video specifically about 100 American historic figures, but it looks like it may have been about worldwide historic figures. And the reply, I guess go make your own? Yeah, the default country it is, because the US is the only country that matters. Here we go with the Americans. America has the most famous historical figures out of any country on Earth? Foreigners? I thought only people born outside the US were foreigners. Anyone born outside your own country is a foreigner. You can consult Google. That means that if you go to another country, you are the foreigner in that country. It's not America specific. I don't know why anyone would think it is. And the reply, but Africa's a continent, right? And America is a country. Well, the United States is a country. So that makes us Americans and persons outside our country foreigners, I think. Okay, I'll consult Google, crying laughing emojis. Huh? This next one is posted in a TikTok from CBC, a Canadian TV network, explaining why government shutdowns happen in the United States but not Canada. Canada is tiny compared to the US. You're the size of California in terms of population, and 51% of your population is below the border. So are you saying that 51% of the population is inside the US, or are you just confusing it with the 49th parallel? And someone else replies, as an American, what does that have to do with anything? Exactly, what does that have to do with anything? Like, are you proud of your government shutting down? Doesn't seem like something to be proud of, but okay. So someone here says 150 pounds on average. For the sake of God, please use the metric system. And the reply, no, it's an inferior system based on an arbitrary standard. I serve God anyway, not some man-made God. What the hell are you even trying to say, lol? Bro is acting like if God commanded us, thou shalt only use imperial units, none of this metric nonsense. FYI, it's so incredibly sad that nowhere in Europe accepts American money. The last time we were there, American money was worth more. Now they won't even accept it. So Italy, Switzerland, and Paris won't take it. You mention our money, they squirm. It's a shame. They're our allies. Why won't they accept our money? Probably because they have their own money. All you have to do is exchange your money for their money. And speaking of exchanging money, American says, well, if you want a real answer, checks let you transfer large sums of money without a fee. Can you tell me any other way to do that? A bank transfer. Having lived both in the USA and Europe, I should probably say that the problem lies with the archaic banking system in the USA. Here in the old world, you can transfer large sums without a fee, instantaneously with just a regular bank transfer. Instantly, as in the money literally arrives in seconds, even across country borders, and it works with each bank, not just a few. And we go to the Elon app for this last one. There's a debate on TikTok right now about who would win in a fight, 100 Americans versus 100 Brits, and the funniest comment I've seen about it is this guy who said, don't forget how when Americans visit Europe to attend the Olympics, the local government has to beg them to stop beating up pickpockets. What? And the reply, to be honest, I think 10 guys from South Boston could conquer the whole UK and reunite Ireland. An Olympic lifter 1991 says 10 guys from South Boston would struggle to spell UK. So, I'd like to thank all of my members, especially Catalin Cormendi, Amethyst Phoenix, Mike Hawk, Hold Up, and our newest member of the royalty, Taylor Wheatley. You can join simply by clicking the join button below. Feel free to like, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell if you enjoyed it, and feel free to comment if you've got something on your mind.